Morning, guys. Matthew with Be Different. And this morning, I've been looking at self examination. And basically, it is taking an internal look of yourself and analyzing what you do well, what you are missing the mark on, what you really need to work on. And I'm going to take this from a perspective of our Christian walk with God, in that you do an internal analysis of where you're not meeting the mark, and you work harder and better to try to meet those goals. So a lot of times this can be difficult because a lot of times we don't want to examine ourselves. We don't want to say, okay, where am I not hitting the mark? Where am I not completing what I'm trying to do? Where am I not spending enough time and focusing enough energy on to make it better? So I was reading some of my devotions, and some of these questions are difficult, and a lot of times we don't like to do this because it's painful. So like for instance, when you go in your job and you get a review at your job, they're there to criticize you. They're there to say, hey, this is where you're missing the mark. This is where you can improve. So let's come up with a game plan to make this better, right? Same thing applies for God. Okay, so I'm not spending enough time with God. So how do I fix this? What distraction do I remove? What is getting in the way of spending time with God? And a lot of times, if someone else is examining this with you, this can be uncomfortable. This can be embarrassing because you're like, dang, man, I messed up. I don't know how to fix this. I don't know how to make this better. And so as you grow more mature in your faith, you can allow other people to criticize you and to correct you, because as long as it's godly wisdom, it's good for you. And wise people will accept correction and apply it to their lives, because that will bring them just that much closer, not only to God, but it opens them up to be vulnerable. And a lot of times that can be difficult, and that's why my wife and I have a small group, because for married couples, because we want to be vulnerable with each other. We want them to know that, hey, they're not alone in this fight. We mess up. We all do, and through together and collaboration, we can make it better. So, kind of back to what I was talking about. Some of the things that came up in the devotion are quite thinking things. Like, for instance, one of the questions is, what do you give to God financially? And the little question is, if you are honest today, what would you say that your giving reveals about your love for God? So obviously we know that giving to Him, whether it's our time, whether it's our money, whether it's anything that's important to us, we're giving it away to someone else. That is where God's love exists, because you're showing your love to other people and to your church by giving financially to your church and of your time to your church. Like, for instance, one of the other questions is, what do you do to serve others? By looking at your life, would God say that your actions prove you are more devoted to your own needs and interests, or that your life demonstrates you are in love with God's church? So I had a long time ago, I had a struggle with this. I wanted to serve in the church. I wanted to do something, and God put me on the spot. He sure did. I was a single dad at the time, had my 3-4-year-old at the time, and someone walked up to me and said, hey, you need to serve in the ministry. And I was like, kind of deer in the headlights, like, okay, now it's time to put up or shut up kind of thing, And so sure enough, I said, okay, let's do this. And before I knew it, I was serving in the church every Sunday, still do. And it's really changed my life in a respect that I have to die to myself. I have to wake up early because I have to be there on Sunday at to be there at 7. So yeah, it doesn't seem that early, but I have to get up around 5 to get myself ready and stuff like that. So it is a dying to myself kind of thing. Every day of the week I wake up early, and sometimes my wife hates it, but I know that I'm serving God's purpose and bringing His kingdom to this earth, and showing people that the lives in the church matter, that I'm there to serve God first and foremost, but I'm also to serve the people of the church, and that it demonstrates God's love. And the same thing with our giving. It demonstrates our love to God, saying, hey, you know what, God, I trust you. I know that times have been tough. I know that things have been rough. I know that money looks slim. Or if you have an abundance, giving to the church is a discipline that I learned way back in the day. My mom always, both my parents are pastors, so they both always drove that home. Say, listen, son, we're going to let you make the choice, but this is what giving to God does. This is the blessings that it opens up for you. And I made a choice a long time ago. And yes, it was difficult in the beginning because I'm like 10. I'm like, how do I understand the value of money, the concept? And when I was 10, giving $5, that's a lot of money when I was 10. I'm 31 now, so, $10 these days doesn't hardly buy you anything. So, or $5 doesn't hardly buy anything. So, at any rate, now it's as money is. It's a controlling. It's releasing control to God and say, hey, I'm going to let you take control. I'm going to let you direct my life because I trust you with my money, because it's His anyway. He's the one who gave you the job. He's the one who blesses you every 2 weeks when you get paid. He's the one that blesses you. And to give it back to Him and say, you know what, Lord, it's not mine anyway. You take control. Then He can really open the blessings for you, because then money no longer has a hold on your life. No longer does your time have a hold on your life when you serve other people. That's all gone, because you are worshiping God and doing it to His glory. And that's why the scripture says, work hard, but unto God. Only work hard to God. And like I talked about yesterday, is you're working for God, not for man. And it's so important to remember the same thing when you're volunteering. You're volunteering for God, not man. You're not doing it for man's glory. You should volunteer in secret. You should give in secret and let God have the glory, because that in the end is what matters. So guys, be different today. It's kind of a mouthful today, but internally examine yourself, see where you're missing the mark, and do your best. Pray about it to make it better. Pray about it to change your life and to enhance your relationship with God. Be different today. Love you guys.